Hello, and for those of you who have been watching my little mini reviews of the A24 horror films, welcome to part 4. Or welcome. Maybe go back and watch the others. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to get to the 2019-2021 horror films from A24. Nothing in 2020. Maybe COVID had a problem with that, dealt with that. I don't know. Who knows? But just to bring you up to speed, I've been going chronologically through A24's alleged horror films, inspired by the No Bodies podcast, the No Bodies horror podcast. I highly recommend you go check that new show out. It's got really great stuff. And I'm not offering rebuttals here. I'm just inspired by their good work, and I am, trying to lend my voice to the conversation for those who care. And if you don't care, that's cool. But I want to talk about these films because they're so influential, and A24 has proven to be such an interesting film studio in terms of distribution, and some production, and putting together this community of interesting films that are sometimes elevated horror, art housey kind of stuff, some interesting things, but they're not all home runs, as I've discussed in previous episodes here. Anyway, let's just jump right in. So the first film I want to talk about is the relatively controversial Midsommar from 2019. And that's right, Midsommar. I am going with Jay of the Dead's preferred pronunciation on that one because that's how it's spelled. Anyway, this is another great writer, director, auteur attempt by Ari Aster, and I think for the most part he nails it. This is a very disturbing film. This film does not disappoint on the horror, although it is arguably a little long. Some people have commented that 2.5 hours is just too much time to spend with these kind of interesting people. I'll say that much. What I do like about it, in addition to some of the great scares and gore effects, is it is unusual. It's a folk horror piece set in Scandinavia, and we end up getting horror in the daylight. And we get an interesting juxtaposition of color theory because it's very white and colorful. So the community that we're dealing with is very pastoral. They all dress in white. They're all white-skinned. They seem to be at one with nature. They seem to be very kind and loving. But their method of existence is different from those of us who don't live there. Like The Witch, it's folk horror, but unlike The Witch, it's contemporary instead of a period piece, which makes it disturbing in a different way. I think this was the first film I ever saw with Florence Pugh in it, and man, she just delivers. She delivers on everything she does. She is fearless, and there's nothing she won't bring to the screen. So big fan, big fan. Anyway, it's not 100% perfect. It does fall slightly short of Hereditary for me. So this is a 9 out of 10, but as such, I still highly recommend it. This is a purchase. Now, if you are new to horror, maybe don't start with this one. It's pretty intense, but it's a pretty great film. All right, the second one I want to look at, it's actually number 19 chronologically, but we're going to go with The Lighthouse. Lighthouse, which is another auteur effort by Robert Eggers, although Max did help him with the writing. This is essentially a play. It's a two-man show starring Robert Pattinson, who has come a long way from his sparkly vampire days, and William Dafoe, who is just amazing in everything. And it doesn't matter what genre he's working in, he's always terrifying. This dude freaks me out, but he's so good in this. The language, the dialect could be a little off-putting to people, but this is a tremendously surreal exploration of isolation, claustrophobia, kind of cabin fever. We used to call it cabin fever. It's shot in a very stifling, almost square aspect ratio, and the black and white photography really does draw attention to these two men and the conflicts that they develop over time stuck at this kind of lighthouse. It is a period piece. It has some really, really surreal images, some dreamscape images, and some disturbing engagement with both mermaids and seagulls. So I respect this film, and I respect the acting. Some people love it. It's at the top of some people's lists. I don't know. I don't know if I want to ever watch this one again. It's got some weird stuff going on. But I'm still going to give it a 7 out of 10 because I can recognize the artistry at work and what's going on here. So I do, for those people who love good performances, who are interested in A24, absolutely strong recommend on this. Don't know if this is a buy, even if it's available to buy. So I'm going to leave that up to the discretion of you all. All right, the next one was kind of a surprise to me, and that is, it's a short film, let's see, written and directed by Rose Glass. So a female auteur. Not many of the A24 contributions here are from women. And this is very much a woman's tale. It is Saint Maud from 2019. And it has a really great cast. It is led by Murphy Clark, who plays Maud. And I discovered her as Eowyn in the Amazon Prime Power of the Ring. I can't remember the title. I always forget. But the Lord of the Rings prequel. She is amazing in that. And she is even better in this. She plays primarily next to Amanda, played by Jennifer Ehle, who I swear I've seen in other things before. But it's a cool film. It is a little bit cerebral. It is a little bit confusing, disturbing. I don't know, but it's about a woman who has some mental issues from a traumatic experience that happened in her past. Now, one of the things they talked about on Nobody's podcast is that there wasn't sufficient backstory to explain Maud and why she's behaving the way she is. I think there is. I think that what happens is when Maud was working as a registered nurse sometime in the past, she accidentally killed a patient by performing CPR. And so it kind of created some kind of psychic break for her. I'm not really sure. What happened. So there is some ambiguity, but I think the ambiguity is important. Well, anyway, Maud starts seeing things. She has a really weird relationship with this dying patient, and she's obsessed with religious experiences, religious iconography, etc. And so she starts dedicating herself to this thing, this sense of worship, and it overcomes her. It consumes her quite literally by the end. So I think it's an interesting exploration of religious fanaticism and some of the things that can go wrong if we deal with trauma through incorrect means. I don't know. I think this could be a little bit of a difficult watch for the religious folk because it could push some buttons. And it is a little bit iffy on its treatment of mental illness. But the two put together with this amazing actress really makes for a disturbing and surreal kind of film. So yeah, I think I give Saint Maud an 8 out of 10. I know that's higher than a lot of people give it. What is Internet Movie Database? It's 6.7. I thought it was cool. I thought it was really disturbing. I liked the idea of exploring religious fanaticism in this way. But really, my score is because of Clark and her performance. That's why. So high priority rental stream. I recommend it. Okay, so you notice I did some editing on this one. I didn't want to, but my phone alarm keeps going off, and I think I've turned it off, and I've just snoozed it because user error. So pardon the choppy video this episode, but I'm doing my best. All right, let's go to another kind of controversial in terms of quality film. One of the worst reviewed A24 horror films on Internet Movie Database is False Positive, the hour-and-a-half film written and directed by John Lee, which is interesting that it's a male writer-director, honestly, but it was also co-written by Alyssa Nutting and Ileana Glazer. Anyway, this is, I like this film. I thought this film was really scary. I thought it was quite a horror film. Others think it's more of a thriller, but I think it's scary in terms of, and I'm imagining, right? I'm imagining that it's scary for the woman's experience, but I'm a father, and I can relate to some of the horrifying ideas that are being explored in this film. But basically, you have So one of the co-authors, Ileana Glazer, she's playing Lucy. And Lucy and her husband, Adrian, Justin Theroux, they want to have a baby. And so they go to a super creepy, overly charming fertility doctor, played by none other than Pierce Brosnan, the man, the myth, the legend, and at least he doesn't sing in this one. And there's also a great creepy nurse played by Gretchen Mol. Gretchen Mol, who I've seen, what have I seen in her in? Well, quite a bit. She's done a lot of neat things. She's a cool actress. She's very attractive. And she plays kind of a villainous character in this, which I liked. Also, right, Pierce Brosnan is a villain I liked. So maybe too many spoilers there. But anyway, they conceive, they have 3 fetuses, 2 linked boy twins, and then an additional girl. And Lucy wants the girl, and so they have to terminate the other fetuses. So it gets into some really complicated ethical and moral issues regarding termination and abortion, but not in a political way, I don't think. It's really much more in a kind of a Planned Parenthood kind of way, and what's the best course of action for this situation. Anyway, by the end of the film, I think it's pretty terrifying, and it has a really creepy bookend on both sides. So, opinions are opinions, and not everybody's going to agree with me on this one, and I do absolutely know that I'm in the minority, but I liked it. I thought it was really disturbing. I think it has a great poster, too, honestly. So, yeah, I'm giving False Positive an 8 out of 10, and this might be my most controversial score, but I think I highly recommend it. I do. There's also some weird Peter Pan imagery going on in here. Anyway, that's me. Unpopular opinion. In the minority. So this gets us to another one that is a little polarizing, and that is Lamb. Lamb, which is an Icelandic film. Pretty cool. It's all in Icelandic. It takes place in Iceland. It's gorgeous. The landscape, the scenery, it's just amazing. It's just beautiful. There's so many great sweaters in this film, honestly. Great sweaters. This is written and directed by Valdemar Johansson, and a co-writer is listed as Sion. Sion, I don't know who that is. But anyway, it's really cool. And it is heavily features Naomi Rapace, Maria, speaking her 8th language. I don't know. I guess she's from Iceland, so this is her native tongue. It's the first time she's done that. And then we get a couple of other guys who are involved. Ingvar, her husband, played by Hilmir Sneer Gunnarsson, and his brother, Peter, played by Björn Hjälnur Haraldsson. So I have Scandinavian ancestry, but my Scandinavian is terrible. And it's pretty much just them out in the middle of nowhere on a farm with a bunch of lambs and sheep and farm animals. And I mean, the premise, I don't think the premise is really a spoiler. They're birthing the lambs one spring, and one of the lambs births a human-lamb hybrid. What? They don't really explain it, and initially you don't even know it. You just think that there's a lamb they've taken a liking to. Anyway, it's a weird lamb. They steal it from the mother, and they raise it as their own child because they've lost a child in the past. And the sheep mother is cranky about it, and they take care of her. And then it builds and builds and builds slowly. And just be aware of that. This is a slow burn. Slowly builds to a really pretty shocking climax. I loved it. I loved the mood. I loved the tonality. I loved the cinematography. And I loved the acting. So sue me. It's not a perfect film, and it's a little light on the horror. I'll give it that. So I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. I am recommending it. I think people should check it out. It is available on Paramount Plus and on Prime. So give it a shot. I mean, it's just a nice mood piece that I think is pretty effective. So that's where I'm going with that one. All right, so I'm going to have to splice all these videos together. Sorry. But that has taken us through 22 A24 films, all more or less billed as horror. But remember, I vetoed Killing of a Sacred Deer in High Life because I'm a snob, I guess. Anyway, I've got one more episode to go with the final 5 films, 6 if you're being pedantic. and we'll get these out here. So thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up with my technical challenges, and see y'all later.